So everybody see me in the camera, and everybody kind of see that blue that's behind me?
Yep.
Okay, so what this is going to do, and what we're looking for, are those darker blue spots. The darker blue spots, if they're moving, obviously we have some kind of intelligent orb or something with us. So if you take me out of the picture, you see where all that blue kind of changed to reds and oranges again?
Yep.
It's going to fluctuate based on whatever's in the screen. Does that make sense to everybody? So what you're going to be looking for are anything that's dark in color, almost black, and you'll also notice, and it's already recording, like see those kind of white dots out there? It's highlighting what it thinks are structures. If you actually find a blue anything that's moving around, it should have a white line around it. This is also, the camera is not up to our pixelation standards of what we have on our cell phones now. So nice slow movements are really the key to this. If you start joggling it around, it's going to take a second for it to catch up. We're going to keep it horizontal all night long. Pay no attention to the timer. I don't know why. After an hour, it kind of goes wonky. But that little red square needs to stay a square. In the event that it turns into a circle because something got weird, just hit it again, and that way you guys will have two videos. But it's already recording. So you're going to keep that horizontal all night long. That's usually what I have two people stare at all night long. So make sure I have a couple of set of eyes on it. I think the next piece I'm actually going to... I just added a digital camera. So the rule with the camera is no people can be in the pictures. We're going to hit some spots tonight where I actually had a guest over the past couple of weeks. They've been pulling out their cell phones, and I was like, actually, that'd be really cool to have as long as I keep the rule of no people in pictures. So we're going to give you the point and shoot. So at times, I may pull Eiley up and say, hey, let's get some pictures before everybody walks through this area, and that way we can kind of see what's actually happening. There's no flash on this. I don't want to create anything that's a false positive for anybody. So I'm going to upload these to Facebook so I don't bog down my website, and it'll be on my Stories in the Cemetery, and that way you guys can download them for yourself, and you'll have a direct link to that on your evidence page. Does that make sense to everybody? So very, very simple, and it's a point and shoot. It is shockproof, but you will have to be still in order for the picture not to come out blurry. I tested it last night. It was the first time I used it, but in order to get nice, clear pictures, you have to be still. So it's not a super expensive digital camera, but it is still a digital camera. We have something else of proof. All right, so we talked about spirit boxes sweeping, right? So this is the one that we'll record. This is the new one.
Xbox. Scanning.
And I'll kind of walk everybody through the scanning portion of it so everybody can kind of hear what we're looking for. All right, so I'm going to turn the volume up so you guys can all hear it. So it's just literally scanning radio stations. I heard official. So literally, like when I'm not telling stories, there's only one button, and it's a turnstile right here. So you guys are just going to turn it down or turn it up. When I say let's get spirit boxes up, you just turn the turnstile to get the volume. When you want to hear the stories that are going on, then that's when you obviously turn it down. So the other cool thing about this is it actually has a little flashlight on it, and it's down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the face. So I'm going to hand that one off to you guys. So if you hear something, obviously speak up, but we'll hear the recording of it. But if I get it on the audio as well, because it's not going to pick up you saying, hey, it just said Rogers. I need that on that audio so I can link them up. Does that make sense?
Yes. Are you just asking us to listen to it?
Listen to it and tell us what you hear.
Okay.
And I'll give you clues. Like the stories you guys are going to hear, they're not going to be the long, dramatic, this is what happened, and that's what happened. It's going to be, here's the clues we might be looking for, because here's what happened here. It's going to be very, very simple. They're not going to be very, very long stories. So, all right, let's go into... This is an EMF detector. So an EMF detector measures electromagnetic fields. There's 3 electromagnetic fields. One from the Earth, which is where we are now, on green. And then anything from a man-made object, like a cell phone, wiring, anything like that, is going to give it a pattern. It's going to give it a rhythm, because it's going to send out pulses. Anything from the spiritual world is going to go crazy and erratic and have no sense to it whatsoever. So that's what we're looking for with this guy. This is usually our first indicator that we have something going on. And all you really need, there's no buttons to hit. It doesn't make any noises.
It's dummy proof.
Everything here. I'm setting it up so all you have to do is literally hold it and watch it. except for the volume button. All right, so we have a thermal camera, right? So how do we prove that we actually have a cold spot on the thermal camera? Obviously thermometers. We should all recognize these guys, right? All right, they create a red dot, you can measure anything, but what it'll do is it only measures where the red dot is touching. It's not gonna measure the air in between the gun and the red dot. So that's where this guy comes into play. This guy actually is meant to measure humidity, but what we use it for is the bottom number, which is ambient temperature. So through the top, don't pay any attention to my electrical tape, whatever. Somebody broke the cage around the probe. But it still gives us an accurate temperature. So the bottom number is, it says 81.75 right now. So let's say Paul he has the camera on the wall and he says there's a dark blue spot moving around. We find a dark blue spot and we see that it's the exact same temperature as what he has on his camera. Then we can debunk it as the wall is cold in that one area for some odd reason. If we don't have the same area, then that's where we have to find the cold spot between Paul and the wall. And that's where this guy comes in. Does that make sense to everybody? Mm-hmm. So these are going to go to you. You're going to help us debunk things. I know, right? All right, so you, and we'll see what's going on here. So these guys, these are interesting. Let's pocket this one for now. This is the neuralizer from Men in Black. You guys are not going to remember anything when I'm done with you. It's a joke. You guys are supposed to laugh.
Yes.
All right. Cool. Really, it's a grid pen. Ah, batteries are dying. So I'll have to change those batteries out. So everybody kind of get the gist to see the green dots. So what that'll do is it'll allow us to see things that we can't normally see that's in between it. So in the event we actually have an apparition passing by, when I put the new batteries in, it's going to be way brighter than this. So we'll literally be able to see a flash that comes by. Super cool thing is now that we have a camera, this guy is where it kind of really helps us out. So this one gives us a full grid. So these are squares. So the cool thing about this guy is in the event we actually have something passing by and we can capture it with a picture, I can then put it into a 3D software and we can get the full picture of what's all the way around it. Does that make sense to everybody? That's why I got this one on top of the green one. I will change, it's gonna be temperamental, but you can actually use them together if you wanted to. And it'll actually give us a much fuller picture. So the other cool thing, let's see if I can actually pull it off. It's bright right now. Everybody kind of see those green streaks a little bit? That's kind of what we're looking for, only it's going to be very, very fast. It's not going to hang out in the grid. Does that make sense? Alright, so you guys were kind of chuckling at these, so we're going to give each of you guys, well actually you're going to get this one. You're going to get this one. I have one more spare box. That's the red one. So those of you with lasers, temperature guns, and laser grid pens, they're not safe on main streets. I will walk away in cuffs. It's not a good deal. So I'll tell you when it's safe to use those. We have one more gadget. I know, right? Lots of stuff. We have one more spirit box. Name again, I'm sorry.
Lane.
Lane. That's my mother's maiden name. You think I'd remember that? So, one more spirit box does the exact same thing that yours is doing, only it doesn't record and it just operates differently. So I'm going to start the sweep, and yours is going to come through the speaker. As soon as I can get the volume up. So you might actually have to hold it a little closer. Looks like the batteries on this guy are dying. But you can get the gist of what that sounds like. Go ahead and put it up to your ear.
Where's that volume?
Is right in the center. So if you wanted to turn it off like what they're doing, there's a button on the back of the speaker right in the center. You can just tap the button on the center. That way the sweep will continue to go. You just won't be able to hear it. Is that fair? So again, with that one, we get a lot of words. So I need you to kind of speak up so I get it on the audio. So last but not least, I'm going to use a couple gadgets on my phone so that I'm active with you guys. I know I talk a lot, don't I? My wife says this is like the perfect job for you. So I'm going to use an EMF on my phone in the event that yours dies. So if we get a battery drain, which does occur from time to time, I have a backup. Because again, I need something that's going to give us...
It's called the EMF?
EMF, electromagnetic field meter.
Cool.
I'm going to use that spirit box. And this is kind of like the list. This is last night's list of words that they got. They actually had 61 entries. And I had to weed out which ones were good and which ones weren't. So you guys are going to get your own full list, but we're going to clear theirs out. And this one is actually going to put the words one by one in the center of the screen for me. So that way I don't actually have to listen to all that static as I'm telling you guys stories. But if I notice we get a new word, I will stop whatever I'm saying to tell you what the new word is and if it's relevant, whether it's relevant or not. And one more little creepy gadget that really helps things out. This is a reverse spirit box. So I like to show this one off last because between that one and that one, those are playing radio stations in forward motion. This one plays those same signals in reverse, and whatever we hear to come out forward is what we were actually meant to hear. So I'm going to play this one for you, and this way you guys can all get a gist. You'll hear this on your audio as well, because this is the one I'll actually speak to throughout the night. It's going to sound like complete gibberish. I heard very north. So again, I keep both of those spirit boxes running on my phone. So that way when I need to talk to them, all I got to do is turn the volume up and I'm good to go. All right, so let's get your audio going. Any questions? Well, so I guess the main portion of like the first place that we're going to go to, guys, is kind of like your practice session for all of your gadgets. It's haunted, but there's no true history there. I get a lot of activity there, and I'll kind of bounce around with all of you to kind of make sure we're all on the same page, and that way you guys get to kind of practice what you're actually looking for.
Cool.
So what's today's date? The 9th? July 9th, 9 p.m. tour. So that'll stay with me all night. You guys will hear me talking to my spirit box and the stories all night long. So we start here on purpose. This place, as you've heard, the gentleman just asked me, it used to be called Cane Rum Bar. But before that, back in the 1970s, it was called Big John's. Big John's was actually named after a football player who played for the Giants back in the 40s and 50s. Now, the football player, John, used to sit in the back of the bar, and we had the Citadel just a few blocks away. The cadets would come over and they'd have a drink. John would let the bartender know if they were of age or not. He'd cut them off or say, everything's good to go, because John knew everybody. And one night, he made two guys mad because he cut them off, and they left. They come back the next night and take the cash register out of the front of the bar, and Big John pulls out his .45 and takes one out, kills him. Bullet hole is still in the front of the building. Now, Paul, the previous owner of Cane Rum Bar, never filled in that bullet hole. He left it there. He used to talk to Big John. John would rattle the bottles for him, and they would kind of have little conversations. John approved of the way Paul was running the business. It is said that anybody that sits in the front of the bar gets a little queasy, disoriented, not feeling well, headaches, those kind of things. Just not a very good, solid feeling. It doesn't happen all the time, but when it does, it's not a good thing. And I've gotten the EMF only from the front of the building one time. Because I used to walk in while I was waiting on a tour, and I go in and kind of check things out, and I've only one time, and that's a good thing. I can only create something once. That's a good thing. It's proof. So I bring that story up is because a few weeks ago I had a woman that could not finish the tour because, bless you, too much paranormal activity. Got to her head. She was not doing well. She made it to the second location, and she was done. Like headache, not feeling well, almost passed out on me. Granted, it was very humid that night. But based on the evidence that we got from the locations she had already visited, it was just too much. So if any of you are feeling anything, please speak up. If you see somebody in your party not feeling well, please speak up. Because that person's going to say, no, let's go on. Stop. We will figure it out from there. Is that fair?
Gotcha.
Your health is probably the most important thing. I know how it's going to affect me. If I say we need to go, we need to go. Is that fair too?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the other ghost that's here, have any of you taken another Charleston tour yet?
No.
Okay. Well, we had a big earthquake in 1886. Everybody talks about it because it was an anomaly. It doesn't happen here. We don't get earthquakes. But the first death allegedly occurred here too. So the mantle that is above your head actually wraps around the front of the building. A piece of that broke off, struck somebody in the head, and his ghost is said to be seen right here in the middle of East Bay Street. And that was from Paul, the previous owner of Cane Rum Bar. So no lasers on the streets.
Oh, sorry.
You're good. I'm a dad. I will stop you.
Go right ahead.
I have kids older than you, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So, you guys ready to go ghost hunting?
Yes.
All right, let's go. Let's do this. I got the word Latin. that is. I don't think they got it last.
Feeling queasy.
So they were talking about like the radio, and Alex was like, I think I heard this. Giving him the evil eye.
I'm gonna need a shower.
Oh yeah, I think we all would.
Where's the grid pen at? The green grid pen? We're going to get some new batteries while I tell you guys what's going on here. Alright, so first and foremost, we're standing in a parking lot. This is the barn where they keep the horses. Can you unscrew that and tell me what kind of battery they have? They keep the horses for the carriage ride in this big red barn. Do not shoot your lasers inside the windows. You will spook the horses and will not be there. Triple. No. I usually band everything up so they need to tape up. There's two expressions. Yep, and I'll take two of them.
Oh, you look up, you can see them like in the glass. Oh, no kidding. Really big.
Oh, you got it.
Got it?
Yeah.
This is awesome looking.
Yeah, so we're here tomorrow, and then we go to Garden City. We rented a condo on the beach for a week.
Alright,
Put
so
them in the right way?
Maybe.
So
Yeah, let's make sure you're working before I get going.
Yeah. Yes, it is. Yeah, northeast. Yes.
I think you put them in the same way.
yes,
Yes.
there we go.
go.
Alright, so Crew Cafe down there is haunted. Allegedly there was a suicide that happened there. I have walked through it with an EMF detector, did get some readings upstairs. They've asked me to do a full investigation, but then the pandemic happened. So hopefully I get there in soon. But the problem with that place is that it used to be a slave home. And slave homes, they didn't have addresses, which means no titles, no deeds. Very hard to get records on who actually lived there and why. So hopefully I get something there. For you history buffs down there at the stop sign, Revolutionary War, we did have a cannon shoot over from the ships. We are 1 block away from the water. And the cannonball actually landed right there at that stop sign. They found pieces of it. However, no deaths, no tragedies, just a little tidbit of Charleston history. So also keep in mind, the peninsula of Charleston, most of it on the outside of it is man-made. We expanded it ourselves. So the water was much, much closer, which means that ship was probably a good half a block, if not a full block closer to getting to that stop sign. So we're going to have to move out of our way. Let's actually move over here. You're welcome. Sorry. Yep. Gonna get that horsey smell. So, again, this is where they keep the ponies for the carriage rides. This is also where they kept the horses that delivered milk to Charleston, if that kind of gives you an age. So we're talking mid-1800s. I don't have a specific ghost story here. All I know is I get a lot of activity out of spirit boxes. We haven't caught any cold spots with the new thermal imaging camera here, but I have had cold spots show up with the trauma. So, again, lots of measuring, lots of testing things out. Those of you with grids and grid pens, you start straight down, and you work your way out very slowly. Stay away from windows. Obviously, the windows of this place, but any business or car as well. So you want to try to keep it as low as possible. I will tell you that wall over there, for some odd reason, I've been seeing weird things coming off that wall. Somebody last week was shining their green grid pen on there, and it looked like water was falling off of it, and it was a nice dry like this. We couldn't recreate it. It happened for about a minute and a half before I tried to debunk it, and then it went away. We didn't catch it on video. Now we can capture it with the camera. The end of that grid pen too, if you turn the tip of it, you can get as many, there you go, you want a lot of dots, just like that. So, I don't know what's going on there, but again, what I'm asking is try to keep the spray of dots relatively close to you, so within a good 5 to 7 feet, so that way you can control it. Let's see, spirit boxes should be up. call with the thermal imaging.
Yep.
Nice slow sweeps all the way around. EMF detector is already going off. Do you see that?
Oh yeah.
All right. So again, she has no pattern. She has it's not any kind of pattern whatsoever. So we should have thermal imaging camera over here. You can take plenty of pictures in this area if you want to. If you capture something, an orb or something like that. This is all me. You're my tech pilot. So take as many pictures as you want. I will not post anything that have people in them by accident. So you're gonna be my
So I'm getting dark blue right to the left, or excuse me, right to the right of that palm tree. It looks like.
Where?
Is that what I'm looking for?
Well, it's kind of pulsing with different
Oh,
temperatures.
yeah, my.
And it's just pulsing in general.
Yeah.
So really, the activity we had was to the right of the pipe and tree.
Okay.
So I'd be curious to see like what you can get past
Hey,
that
Alex.
truck.
Alex, move it to the
To
right.
get a little bit closer.
I would. Let's see what we got. Really, like, you need to be watching around.
Okay.
We got hot spots.
Oh, like right now it's hot.
I got the word
Oh,
height.
here we go.
So the app that I told you guys was a hoax. If this was sitting on my dining room table, that's not haunted, it might give me a word every 3 to 5 minutes.
Oh, now it's hot.
We had about 10 words come through in the past minute and a half. So I have the words hike, undergraduate, blood, number, stomach, order, closer, members, reveal, Latin, diversity, and word. Like, that's a lot of stuff that just came out of a very short amount of time. So we'll have to see what we can capture out of that. Is that really hard to hear? I'm surprised that the volume is super low. Normally I can hear it. I wonder if it's the new speaker. Pull that little speaker out of that little plug there. Now turn it up. Is it all the way up? You still can't hear it? That's crazy.
So there's a cold spot down here. It goes from 86 down to 83.
Okay, so I usually look for 5 to 8 degree differences
Okay.
before I get excited. Problem is there's no volume on the speaker itself. It's relatively new too because I used to not have a speaker on it. And just for people to hear. 30 I know is the max. It'll be a little easier to hear now. I slowed down the sleep. I know it's not even half the volume, so you're not listening to all those crazy clicking. I want to say I just changed the battery. Really low.
Let's see right here. It's like hot.
You guys see anything?
Like I can hear where it's too fast.
So it's dark down there.
Actually, good. those green things called?
Yeah. I think there's something down here in the corner.
Is the spirit sleeping?
That'd be dope.
Oh, right here.
Ooh, maybe I should get closer.
No, no, no.
86.
Yeah, but see that dark blue spot?
Oh, my meter's going erratic.
It dropped down to 84. But see how it's that one dark spot there?
He got 80.
Oh, right here. Here.
For those of you with spirit boxes, it's okay to ask questions. Just stay away from yes or no's. Those are too easy. Like if I ask a question, a lot of times what will happen is that I just ask, hey, somebody's here, tell me how much is on the wall. Like, and it might come through your spirit box, mine, or ours. Okay.
But I don't know what the word was.
Okay, and that's
I had
okay.
baby and southern.
Baby and southern?
7.
7.
Yeah.
Because normally I'll ask how many of us are there. That way we get a very specific thing. I mean, that's a good question too. You can.
Okay. How many of us are here right now?
Well, just remember, they're not in the box. You can ask it to open air. I've already asked the question. I do it too, because I walk around like this going, how many of us are here?
How many
Great.
Nicks?
Ooh, my meter's
How many Nicks
going
are here?
off.
Look at that.
Yeah?
So, I got the name Grayson. That's kind of a weird,
We know a Grayson.
spelled like that, with an EY.
It's an AY?
It's AY.
AY.
Because last night I had a little girl, she was 9 years old, and the name Ava came up, and the mother told me that that was her daughter's middle name, but it was spelled differently. It was a AVA versus an EV. EVA. So somebody obviously can't spell with E's and A's. But is that Grayson passed on?
No.
Okay. That's the main question.
Yes.
Like, are they passed on? That's what I'm looking for. So a lot of times you guys will see me like walk away, and that's me asking questions, so I'm not interfering with the two spirit boxes kind of thing, and you won't be able to hear everything on my audio. And give them time to answer. So if you're asking questions, ask it repeatedly. What did you just hear? It's okay. But if it was a song, it's okay. We're listening for those DJs.
Someone save me.
Someone save me.
I think that was a song.
So song lyrics, DJs, or disembodied voices are things that can come out of your spirit boxes. Sorry, I didn't know that. It's okay to sing song lyrics. Perfectly fine. It like makes sense for where we are. I got the word arm. So it tells me that all before I get tired of holding the thing, I want to pass it to somebody else. That's usually what happens.
Okay, somebody else asked a question. When we ask questions, my meter goes off.
What did we ask?
I don't know.
Is it going to be hot tomorrow?
No, it's supposed to be something paranormal.
Are you a boy or a girl?
Ooh. Oh, see what? It's going red.
What is the name?
It's in your spirit box in your house.
So something's trying to communicate with us.
Yeah.
How many of us are here? So the grid pens and the grids, you want to keep them as still as possible. So like twirling it and moving it around, we're not going to capture anything that way. It's only going to confuse us and give us a false positive if we capture it on camera. So literally as still as you can possibly make it. Can you tell us a number of how many of us are here?
save me.
Right here. So how many of us are here? Count us up. There's more, yes. Try again.
Try to keep it still, Alex.
Everybody kind of have a gist of how your gadgets work. We got a little bit of evidence with the double save me's. I got a lot of words out of this to see if I can actually connect it to the location. So I think we're going to move on to the next location. I'd like to hit as many spots as possible. So based on time and how much evidence we collect from each place, we can hit up to 8 or 9 places. It just depends on how we're doing.
Gotcha.
So let's move on to the next spot and actually learn some history. How about that? Wait for him to pass by. We're going to actually follow him. So is this what you guys thought you were getting into?
Yeah, this is cool.
Good. My daughter's usually with me too. My youngest, she's 14, and she usually helps me bounce around with the gadgets and answer questions.
Cool.
She's all over it. Probably knows more about some of this stuff than I do. I let her play with the stuff ahead of time.
Yeah.
Like, tell me how it works. You need to teach and train Dad. I gotta go right. Yeah.
Eileen heard hold up.
Who heard?
She was listening to me. She said hold up. No, Eileen. Right here.
They have a spirit box too. I'm sorry.
She heard hold up.
So, what's your EMF doing?
It's not much. Oh, well, it's kind of erratic. It's not like.
When you get things that are all over between red and orange, like that's super exciting.
Oh.
That's what we want. Like that's when you're like, hey guys, like there's no pattern to it. Like if it's nothing going on, obviously it's going to stay on green. If you were to put that behind your TV where all your wiring and all that is, it'll probably go all the way up to red or orange and just stay there because there's that much coming out of the back of your TV on. Does that make sense now?
Yes, that makes sense.
All right. Yeah, that's when we need to get excited. So the hold up is exciting, but that also is safe. Somebody probably wants a little bit more help than we can offer them tonight because no offense, but none of you are equipped to be able to do that. I don't have that kind of gear with me. So we're going to move on. It's not any offense to you guys. It's just a matter of I didn't bring Sage and a Ouija board to make a full communication. So we're actually going to head over to that lot. Promise we will not be in parking lots all night long. This is the last one. This one's important though.
Ooh, I was about to say my meter is kind of going off.
Yeah, it's going to go off in here like nuts. So we are standing in the Eliza and Charles Pinckney Mansion Center.
Yep.
So who the heck are these people? Charles, well, first off, their son Charles, so there's Charles number 2, and his cousin Charles, which would have been the father's nephew. So there's 3 Charles. The 2 younger ones were signers of our Constitution. Pretty important. They were raised here. Charles was the father was a big political person here in Charleston, so forth and so on. However, it's Eliza's story that really makes this place really stand out and shine, where I get all of the activity. Eliza, for those of you that don't know, Charleston is really known for our plantations, obviously. You guys have been driving around, at least seen a few along your way. Rice was a big one. When the rice plantations went down, we needed something else to kind of dig us out economically. So Eliza married her husband to stay here in the States. She's from England. Daddy got sick. He wanted her home. She said no. She married Charles so that she could stay. Became a citizen. Daddy got better. Daddy started sending her over plants because Eliza was a botanist. The garden that she had would have been lined up right there with that blue dumpster, and the mansion would have been in the front, and back there would have been the slave homes. So one of the plants that Daddy sent over was an indigo plant. Indigo makes blue dye that makes your blue jeans blue. We still use it today. So not only did she start the indigo plant right where you're standing, she was also the businesswoman that sold it overseas, which back in the 1700s, colonial times, was absolutely unheard of. So, a couple interesting things about Eliza. She had 4 kids. When you guys are out asking your questions, try to find out what the kids' names were. How many? I'll give you this. She had 3 sons and a daughter. I usually try to get the daughter's name because it's obvious. There's one daughter and it's a very kind of long name. She gave it to me finally last week. I already knew what it was, but she gave it to me very directly on my spirit box. She said her son's names on the other spirit boxes, so try to find out what the kids' names were. She was also the second wife of Charles, named Eliza, back to back. So the Eliza we're talking about, her name is Eliza Lucas Pinckney. So you might get the word Lucas. You can ask her what her favorite plants are. You can ask her what her favorite color is. It's not indigo. It's not blue. So there are a lot of clues that you can be asking while you're kind of exploring back here. I will ask you to stay away from the trailer. Every once in a while we get somebody that's homeless sleeping back there. And usually the person on the thermal camera can usually find them before anybody else. Because their key is right there. So, your EMF is going to go crazy in here. Another cool little trick about this place, because there is so much energy here, if you guys take a look at the light that's on the back of the 5 Church restaurant over there, most of the time that's in pulse with our EMF detector. So if you actually hold it up like you're going to take a selfie,
Oh, yeah.
it will be in the same repetition as the same rhythm as that light.
Is that why some lights flicker like that?
In my opinion, most of the time in Charleston, that's the case.
Pretty cool.
It just depends on where you are and what the problem is. Now that light sometimes changes to where it flickers super fast. Other nights it just stays on. And this on, or completely off, I'm not going to have that activity. I mean, if spirit activity is lingering,
So did they tear down the house that they lived in?
it burns.
Oh, it burned down.
So it might also get this roof. It started with the roof. It had many, many fires on here. Now, there's also a restaurant here called Molly Darcy's. Molly Darcy's actually had a full apparition of a woman in a blue dress. However, it was from the late 1700s to the early 1800s, and the time period did not match Eliza. So they're guessing that it was her aunt that was seen at Molly Darcy's before that tore down. It's just a parking lot now. They're going to put a commercial hotel here, which sucks because they're not going to do an archaeological dig. We're not going to get all the artifacts out of the ground. It's horrible. It's sad to say, but we have enough archaeologists here in town, they would probably come down here and do it for free just to get the history out of it. But it's all about money. So, have some fun, turn off your spirit boxes, ask relevant questions. I think I've given you enough questions to kind of go around that. Play with your game and find out where the hotspots are.
This is almost gone. I can show my thing.
Laser grid stay below the wall. You hear it? That wall.
Most of the gadgets y'all are using was my daughter's birthday gift for her 12th birthday, and I told her I had to take it all back so I can get to work. So,
That's awesome.
but that's just kind of how this all kind of fell into place.
What's your favorite color? Yellow?
No. Did you hear yellow?
Yeah. I didn't
Catching anything on there? It's a weird little pocket above the wall. And kind of fading in and out.
Yeah, right below it. Yeah.
I'm actually looking at above the wall. See the blue dot? It's kind of faded now. Blended in with the red. Is there a window up there? Because windows will appear cold. And also, keep in mind, thermal imaging cannot see through windows.
Gotcha.
It looks at it as a solid. Brady.
100. So like with that, where it was pulsating right there.
That's something possible, but it also looks like it's fluctuating.
So it should stay stationary.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, it's a spirit. I can't gauge what it's going to do.
Yeah.
But I mean, the fact that it's coming in and out, but that's showing that it's getting warmer and then colder, warmer then colder. And now it's kind of blended in. And there's a million ways to set up this one, where it'll actually just show cold spots or just hot spots. But I mean, this way we can actually see the differences. It's too hard to gauge just cold. This way you get a difference. But you're doing the right thing, just finding little corners, pockets. I got the name Brady. I know a lot of names. I asked who does she bring in. And I don't know who any of these people are.
I asked what her father's name was. And I asked what her oldest son's name was. Wait, what were the names?
I got Ashlyn and Brady, and Ashlyn would not be a name that you've been calling in times. So, Brady could be a last name.
See anything?
He thought he saw something over there.
Ooh, that kind of
moved.
yeah.
Where? Where?
Over there by that trash.
Where? I don't see it. Can you stop?
Did your thing?
No, it's not going on.
How many boys did you have? Is Tom Brady gonna break his leg in the first game? You'd like him to break his leg, wouldn't
Heck
you?
yeah. Oh, Gronk break his back. I would have sworn Tom Brady was.
It was funny because I'm like, oh, I see something. Oh, it's the weed. It's what? The weed.
I want to go and watch Ghostbusters.
Oh, look, it's hot. Look
It's a
around
person holding it.
here. Yeah, you're so funny.
What?
Stop. Talking about me?
Oh, here we go. Oh, see it? It's going wild.
Nah.
Yes, it is.
That Alex is
It's supposed to be
paranormal.
just-
That's probably near you, that's why.
Look how crazy it is.
Charles, yes. I got Charles. Which Charles, your husband or your son?
Come from what?
YouTube? I don't want to know either.
Yeah, I heard you when I was in the room.
Try not to shine in on the trailer.
The boys are shining it too high. See, now it's just green. It is weird how it kind of like goes around. Oh, like he's right. Like if I put it towards the light, it's kind of crazy.
Can you walk through the green dots for me? Again, dots. Charles, do you want to try to walk through the green dots? No, thanks. Somebody walk through the green dots. Go ahead. Where's the red grid? You want to bring your red grid over? We're trying something up here. Keep yours right where it's at. It's going to have you come up here with the red grid. Kind of go opposite. I've never tried that before, but let's kind of get them intermingled.
Okay.
And see what we can do. Notice. So, can you walk through the green dots for me? Eliza, can you see the green dots? You try to walk
There
through
she is. Where?
the green dots. Eliza, you got a lot of space here. Try to walk through it for me. Is your EMF going crazy or is it dead?
No. It's a little erratic.
Right through the center. Eliza, can you walk through it just like I'm doing right now? Right through the center. Let's bring the EMF closer.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say now it's going erratic.
So try to walk through this. Try not to stare at the green lights.
Okay. Oh yeah, now it's going off.
Eliza, walk through the green dots just like I'm doing. Eliza, come on, walk through the green dots. You can even come out here. Charles, you want to try to walk through the green dots? Ghost. Yes, you're all ghosts. We need to see you. Green dots. Walk through them. Alright, are you guys getting anything else on your spirit box? I know you're listening.
I just heard one. Oh, that's starting to kind of go. No, it's nothing like.
Nothing prominent. So the kid did get the word recover, which could be kind of a message like, hey, you asked the questions, we answered, now we need to kind of bounce back a little bit. Word computer, that doesn't
Are
mean
you
anything.
seeing anything? on
No.
yours? No.
Nope.
And again, the EMF isn't really jumping all over. It's almost like once you step away from it, it starts to go off.
Yes,
Like you're
that's
staying
right.
away from it. Smart. I got the word smart. Alright, I think I'm going to call it on this location.
Okay.
Right.
Did you capture anything else?
I didn't. I was really focusing on this area here. I didn't see anything.
Good. That's really what we needed you to do. So, guys, we're going to walk. We're going to walk a good 3 blocks up East Bay Street, so lasers need to be off completely. I'm pocketed. The station is gone. EMF is going to go crazy because the crosswalks and our street signs, the wiring is underneath the sidewalk.
Oh.
So you pay no attention to it until we get to our next location. By all means, if you want to listen to your spirit box to see if you get more words, that's always a great thing. Just kind of be the tourist with the camera. Some people don't like people with cameras down here. We had a little incident with the thermal a couple weeks ago. Somebody come jumping out of their apartment thinking we were filming their apartment. We weren't, but he was not happy. So I would tell you when it's safe to take more pictures. You guys are all doing a great job. I mean, you guys are all doing the right things. You're looking, you're listening. This is what it's about. And a lot of times, guys, even if you don't see what you're capturing on the thermal, I might catch it in the morning. So what we're doing is we're doing all of this collectively. Just because one gadget goes off doesn't mean that we have a haunting. We have to capture something else. So I think some of the responses I got out of my spirit box were very intelligent. I did get the word Charles. You'll be able to hear that on the audio because it was audible. It wasn't a written word. Did we get Winston, and there was another name that you got too, wasn't there?
I have one.
Just
We got Ashley.
I had Ashlyn and Brady come through on mine, but I don't think those were. All right, let's take a hike. Let's go to our next spot.
All right.
We're gonna go down.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I want to know what this custom house is. Obviously, it has to be something with household, right? The ship's coming in? Okay. It's beautiful. Yeah. Well, we were surprised. We walked on Battery Park earlier, and we were like impressed. There was like an older officer sitting in his lawn chair, kind of like protecting the monument. This all, yes. Well, yeah, because we were seeing it on the Suites, and the gal that we saw last night had ties in South Carolina, and she just said that. So who was that? We weren't sure who that was. Yeah, who's that? Okay. And so I would assume he's from here, but why did they not like him?
So this was before the Civil War.
Okay.
Because he has
Oh, okay. So why did they like this? Welcome on the board? Oh, okay.
lot of things that you guys are here. Very over the town, actually, not to get this one out. We're going to continue to straight out. You guys want to turn. When you guys see the old brick, we're going to turn. It just seems like we're talking through this. Yeah, I was a little upset about that coming down, only because I'm working on The Secret by Byron Price, and that's part of my puzzle solve. When that happens, you guys will be all over national news and find it. I literally have it narrowed down.
No way.
Are you remember?
No, I'm not.
So it's we're gonna make it right here, guys.
You guys, you know what? You guys should Uber to our hotel.
Don't drive tomorrow. Just take it.
Can't believe there's a lot more room on the phone.
This is Lodge Alley. This is kind of a good place to stop on X location because a couple things. This is more of a historical piece, and I normally would tell some of my psychic stories here, but this is more I've been getting more activity at. So I stopped with my psychic stories to give you guys the history to see if we actually capture anything on audio. And this is one of the oldest streets in Charleston. This was a street of Charleston. These bricks are made out of clay, and people actually lived here. Now, last night, we actually had somebody come through on my spirit box. I had the full list of roster of who used to live here, starting in 1700. Wasn't many, but there was a list, and their jobs. This was a very low-income type area, and really close to the water. Imagine back in 1700, it was much, much closer. So mariners, sailors, seamstresses lived down here. It's just been an odd place lately, and more and more things coming up that says, hey, I'm here, I want to talk. We've got the words unemployment, struggle. Benjamin Hopkins came through last night. Like, the name Benjamin was on my screen. And I was like, I don't know what that is. Until I actually look at the roster and I find out it's Benjamin Hopkins from 1802, I think it was. So again, this is a very historical part of Charleston. This is also where the Masons used to meet. So again, this would have been somewhat of a cooler night for us. It's a little humid, but it gets cooler. Imagine all these guys down here in their suits and helmets and everything like that. This is where they would talk business. This is what happened. The hotel behind me is the Lodge Alley Inn, which has its own claims. Almost every hotel in downtown Charleston has its own ghost story. This one's no different. They have full apparitions. There's no history of Charleston. Places that's where ghosts actually appear. So I usually wait just a few minutes to see what kind of words we actually get to come through. Of course.
Good luck.
Thanks, man.
Drive to church across the street.
Oh, we're going. We're going. All right. So I did get the name Noah, put Emma, Am, and Plain. So we have two names in there, Noah and Emma. the names that I normally see on that list are John, James, and of course that the name I got last night, Benjamin. So I'll see if those names are actually on the list to see if anything actually comes through, or if we have anything on the EVPs here. I did get some pictures, so we'll be able to analyze those to see if any work show up. We are actually going to cut through the rest of this alley. However, it is residential at the end of this alley. That is somebody's street that they live on. Tour guides cannot be tour guides on that street. So we're going to be 9 friends ghost hunting, and we're going to make a right at the end of it, and then we're going to head up to our next location. So again, this isn't one where we actually fully investigate with lasers and all of that. It's more about the audio and whatever comes through on the spirit boxes. So hopefully you guys were listening a little bit on your way here. Did you guys hear anything on your spirit box? What about you? Anything on your spirit box?
No, I turned it down to listen to you.
Oh, well, I just meant on the walk up.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Sorry.
Again, by all means, listen to it on our walks in between, so you never know what you're going to actually capture. So pictures are a big no on the street, and then the obviously the lasers are a big no. But by all means, keep filming for us. Is it still a square on there?
Yes.
Still recording? Good. So I try to, I tell folks to try to keep it upright
Gotcha.
most of the night, so that way we're not looking at your leg. That way, if you get tired, we can just pass it off to somebody else in the family. All right, guys, let's take a hike.
You want to run it?
I don't know how to.
Thank God it's not nearly as
Yeah, I can probably see it. I've never been to Boston, but I can see what the connection is going to be. You guys doing okay back here? You guys doing okay? Yeah. Pretty quiet. You might not believe it.
I think so.
I think so too. Thank you for coming off.
you okay?
Look at that, my face planted, huh?
That would have been really nice.
They have a ramp and it's new, and I can see it, and I literally broke the tip of my toe on it last week. It was on the other foot, but and apparently it's telling me I need some grace.
Oh.
Yeah, it's finally healed up. The black is broken. So we do need a broken toe. It is what it is.
Oh my goodness. Well, so how many tours do you do at night?
During summer, it's only one because it gets dark at night.
Okay.
Should be off the streets by 11. But in the wintertime, I do 2. So I start at 7 and then I do another one at 9.
Okay.
So
I hear it.
during active weekend,
Oh, will it? Okay.
yeah. But I'm actually pretty popular, not to toot my own horn, but people, if they can get in on this tour, they will
Okay.
before they jump to the other ones, unless they're familiar with that company.
So where do you cap the tours out at? Like what number?
10.
So what did your wife do?
She's the one that designed the Solar Sensory logo from scratch. She does all my book covers. She does all my big shots. Like she her out of there and go actually shop. Where I have haunted upstairs, shop downstairs. There's folks there, stuff all over.
That'd be awesome.
Hopefully she is down the road. She's looking at it. We're gonna go down there.
Hold on a second here. Making sure you're still with us.
Yes. Distracted by a building.
There'll be a light that turns on. Just gets motion sensor. Okay, so welcome to St. Philip's Church, everybody. This is one of the most haunted places that we claim to have here in Charleston. There's a sign right here that says there's no ghost at St. Philip's but the Holy Ghost, and there's a reason for that. There was a woman in 1888 who died 10 days after her stillborn child. 1988, exactly 100 years later, a photographer comes to town, starts taking pictures of all of our cemeteries, and captures a full apparition in here. So, you with the grid pen,
I'll say play dead.
it said play back.
Oh.
So you did something with the record button, where it's probably no longer recording.
Eileen, take a picture of that. I am. I would not do it.
What if you bury other dead bodies?
Yeah. These are old, like really old bodies.
No.
And they didn't have the stuff that we have today where it preserves the body. If I were to open up one, I'd do that. What's that one? There you go. Let me see. Where will we get to take pictures on our phone?
What's wrong?
My bladder is passing.
Alright, you're back on.
These headstones are
Where were
huge,
we?
though.
So stillborn child, 1988, photographer comes through, right, that's where we were. So, photographer actually captures a full apparition of a woman wearing a shawl. There was a baby basket right next to her. We're talking 1988, where we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have, Photoshop, all of those crazy things. So what's the guy do? He sends it into Kodak to try to debunk the picture. Kodak cannot debunk the picture. You want to look it up? By all means do so. The photo is cursed to women that hold it. The woman's name was Susan Howard Hardy. And with that being said, any woman that holds it will not feel well, will have those disorientation feelings that I told you about earlier, Big John, and then a pregnant woman holding it will not have a good pregnancy. So, Alright, so a couple of other things that happened here. So across the street we have John Calvin is buried, which for you political nuts, that's where he's at. And it is a sarcophagus, so it is above ground. It's been moved several times between both sides. This side is residents of Charleston, that side is not. So there was a debate whether he was an actual Charlestonian native, so he's moved several times back and forth. Right past that side of the graveyard is the pirate house. That's where Blackbeard's men would come off the ships, go have a drink, meet some women, and then they would go catch a show at Dock Street Theater, which is 1 block away through an underground tunnel. That underground tunnel is no longer there. There's 2 ghosts at Dock Street Theater, but I'm going to give you the history of the building first. It was first known as Dock Street Theater because this used to be Dock Street. It's now Church Street, obvious reasons. Then it was turned into a hotel, Planters Hotel. It had prostitution, it was basically a brothel, but it was a hotel at the same time. Then we turned it back into a hotel, theater that we know now. We just got this original name. So, Nettie Dickerson worked here at the church. She was past the marrying age of 17. She was 23. She goes down to Dock Street Theater when it was Planters Hotel because she sees all the ladies down there having a good time with gentlemen. So she wanted to feel wanted. So she goes down there and gets herself a job. However, she's still unhappy. Imagine that. So she used to go out to the second-story balcony and ponder about coming back to the church. You can see the church from the second-story balcony. That balcony also had a wrought iron banister on it. The priest goes down one night to help her make the decision to come back to the church instead of being a prostitute. And storm rolls in, lightning strikes the bars, strikes her dead. Now, the interesting thing about that whole story is that full apparition of her can be seen inside Dock Street Theater, but it's from the knees up. Don't ask me why. So remember, it was Planners Hotel, then we turned it into Dock Street Theater. When we turned it back to Dock Street Theater, we raised the first floor ceiling. She's walking on the floor that she knows. So that's why you can only see her from the knees up. The other ghost that's there, Junius Booth, father of John Wilkes Booth, who shot Lincoln in a theater. No irony there. John, he did not die here, he's not buried here. He just, it's said, because he traveled through Dock Street Theater when it was originally a theater so many times that he loved it here, that's why he's seen. Now, there's no proof of that other than a few apparitions of people in period dress. That would have been the early 1700s. So, those are the kind of stories that we have here in Charleston. With what we actually get here, it's funny is I just got the word incubus when we were just talking about a prostitute. So for those of you that don't know what an incubus is, it's a female spirit that loves sex. So succubus would be a male spirit that loves sex. So I'm not sure that she loved it or that we can classify her as an incubus, but it's an interesting term nonetheless. I haven't caught anything here yet, but by all means, I want you to take a few pictures before we go. Just if you can put your hands between the bars to get the full picture, awesome. A few weeks ago, we caught quite a few moving things up in this area, so let's capture some pictures and see what we can get out of it while we're actually in here.
So when did they stop burying people here?
I don't know that answer either.
But this is a continuation over here at the cemetery?
So there are newer graves to the left that are from the 20th century, and it's weird because there's actually some tombstones in like the brick wall part of it, like right next to the pirate house, and somebody does live there, so don't go poking around his backyard. He doesn't like it. But it's an interesting cemetery to walk through. And a lot of people ask me, like, why don't I take more people through cemeteries? Because of the name of the tour. Would you want to go hang out as a ghost where you were buried? Probably not. So,
How old's the church?
Only one.
He said the 1700s.
I would say 1700s. Again, it's one of those things where I don't get asked that question often, so if I did have it in my memory, it's gone.
It's a beautiful church.
It is. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's also the tallest steeple we have here in Charleston.
Oh, no kidding.
So, we're actually going to go back to kind of where we were. The interesting thing about where we're going to go, across the street at that corner is a place called Bocce's. That would be one of the places I would buy to make it a Stories in the Cemetery shop. But there are things that move around in there. It was sold back to the city in 2015 just because it's so haunted. Bocce's didn't want anything else to do with it. So we're going to keep the lasers away from it because behind it people do live there. And pictures, that's where the guy came out and started yelling at us. So just want you guys to know where it's at. Alright, so let's take a hike. We're going to actually go, we're going to walk this street.
You're in order.
I am.
record, it's our oldest building. Actually 1713. 1712 was
Just
the
this
pink
little
house.
tiny structure?
Yes. So it actually has 8, it's a groin vaulted ceiling. So what does that mean? 8 giant pillars on the outside and 1 in the center, and they're 36 inches thick. The rooftop that you see is filled with sand from the early 1700s from when they constructed it. It held gunpowder through 11 different wars.
Oh,
So it didn't hold the gunpowder for that entire time for every single war, but it did hold it in and out of each one that's listed. And you can actually check out all of those wars. I have it listed on my blog. But I want to go to the front of this, and I want you to like actually just get a good scan of the front of the building, capture some pictures of the front. Let's see what we can get. Grid pen would be okay as long as we keep them low. So again, there might be people in the building behind. I want to make sure that those grids stay pretty controlled. So let's see what we can capture. We'll spend about 5 minutes here and just kind of get a good sweep. With all this new gadgetry, I want to see what we can actually capture. I don't have any proof that it's haunted, other than I've gotten the word powder, or the word magazine, when I was talking about it one night with another group a few weeks ago. So let's see what we can actually capture.
so what is this building used for now?
It's a museum.
Oh, no kidding.
Yep.
Hey.
Oh, now I see why you got powder in there. I didn't realize it was
Yep.
all the powder.
It's called the Powder Magazine. So super cool building.
And why is that lane? What was in there? Were you paying attention? What was in there?
Gun.
The gunpowder. Not powder, gunpowder. Just black. Black kind. The kind that blows up.
Good sweep and some really awesome pictures for you guys. Let's see if we can keep in mind, they have things like in the front, like the pillory and all that stuff. This was never used as a gym. This was never used for gallows or anything like that. It was just a gun.
Usually they have used 1712.
When it was built.
Oh, so you said that this is the first structure? Or, I thought some of the houses,
There's, no, I said on record.
oh, on record, okay.
So the tank house was built 1 year before, but there's no record.
Okay.
It's here. So as a tour guide, I have to give it back. So by all means, grab different angles if you want.
Yeah.
Try to capture the. That would be a really nice picture for you guys.
C19 neutron, but the powder is still dry. That's funny.
Wait to see if anything comes through. That's actually how you get down to the computer. Super cheap. It's only like $5 a head. You usually find it for $1. I bought a season pass for like $7.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But there's probably not a whole heck of a lot. I mean, it's a pretty small place.
It is, but once you get inside, you'd be surprised. Like, there's a lot to read. Like, there's a lot of panels, and it tells you about all the different wars it served in and that kind of thing. Like, it's really cool. A lot
That's
of
what we
war
need for-
uniforms. Pretty cool stuff.
Should have had that for years. Put you guys in that when you misbehave.
Oh, sure.
What?
That's totally gonna try to do.
I'll put you in that. Leave it in there overnight.
Like, do they screw it? So
No.
they can't get out?
Yeah.
Alright, guys, let's move on. Oh, let's see what we got.
I'll
Let's look at the evidence later.
Oh, they have stacks. Nice. So you thought
Bocce's restaurant I was telling you guys about. Actually, it'd be a good picture for the front too, because again, stuff moves around in there all the time, and every time my daughter takes pictures there, we capture something in our window. So we don't normally get a whole lot with the thermal imaging, which is one of the reasons why I got the thermal imaging was for that building, so I can add it to the tour. But
So this is where you'd like to have your shop?
yeah. So the upstairs is, I don't know how many apartments, but I would rent it out as a hotel with a ghost kit and everyone.
Cool.
You know, it'd obviously be a one-night stay, but you know, it would be a tour attached to it. They would probably get a copy of some of the books that I have. You know, kind of a big package deal. But downstairs, it would basically, because I mean, obviously I'm a book guy, so half of it would be a book shop on the supernatural, and then the other half would be to sell gadgets.
Oh,
You know,
that's
and then
cool.
my wife would have the photography, like she'd have her own office, so you guys would all go in and take your picture with a ghost in the background, and, you know, put the Stories in a Cemetery stamp on it. It would all be part of the package.
Now, is that for sale, or are you looking?
No, it is not, unfortunately. It's owned by the city because Bocce's wanted nothing to do with it. They just said there's too many ghosts here, and we went out. They bailed, and that happens
And
here often.
you can't buy it from the city?
I'm sure I could, but I don't have 2.4 million running around.
That's how much
Yikes.
they want it for that building?
That's what it's worth. Wow. Because it's a revenue stream of the apartments upstairs.
Oh.
Not to mention, I'd have to renovate the entire downstairs because it's a kitchen. I don't need a kitchen.
Yeah.
I need a coffee shop and books and couches and my wife's desk and somewhere for me to podcast.
Yeah.
That's it. Like this would
But
be
you
me
think
going
for
to work.
if you generated revenue, because right now it's not making any revenue for the city.
They would probably knock it down about 1.5 million. But even Big John's, like that's the same thing. I would take Big John's too, where we started.
Yeah.
Because that leads people into town. I'd have my Stories in a Cemetery sign on the outside, very bright and green.
Yeah.
And it would be a good
So
hotspot.
how much do they want for like Big John's?
Big John's is about 1.8. Again, revenue
That's
stream.
insane.
Welcome to Charleston.
That's crazy.
I'll get one of those places. Make a lot of money out of it.
Does that look like 2 million? That's like a shithole. Alex would find prehistoric seashells in it. You guys can film TikTok in it. You okay?
Yeah.
Feet are
I'm
getting
glad
tired.
that all of our feet are about the same size. Lane shoes are big for Riley.
I'm gonna try to see if we can get some bottled water on our walk back.
We've got bottled water in our rooms.
I didn't see any.
Yeah, it's in Eileen's bag.
I didn't get it back.
So we're going to wait on pictures until the other tours leave. We're actually going to go down this alley. I'll tell you guys the story down here. So this place is actually super cool. It's one of the most peaceful places in Charleston.
It actually feels cooler.
It is. Don't know why. There's no breeze that comes through here. This is actually what we now know as Philadelphia Alley. It was originally named Cow Alley because this is where all the cattle came. Then it was called Dueler's Alley. So the story comes out of Dueler's Alley. So duels as in back-to-back, take 20 paces, turn and shoot kind of duels. Keep in mind, it's a Charleston legend. If not hundreds of duels happened here, we had thousands. Why we tell this one story over and over again? It's a great story. But it's an interesting one because we have gadgets that might actually help enhance it. So, it's the story of the Whistling Doctor. If you Google the Whistling Doctor, this is the story you're going to hear. I'm going to keep it very short because the rest of my competitors like to make this a big dramatic thing. This is their big finale. We're not going to need the big finale. Your big finale started at the beginning, at Pinckney Mansion. So the story goes, the doctor moved down here from New Jersey because he was going to marry his fiancée, Amanda. Her parents just died. She inherited a bunch of money. The lawyer said, no, you're just after her money. Go start your practice somewhere else, and then we'll talk. He comes to Charleston. The coachman that drops him off set him up to be killed, robbed and killed, rather. And somebody passing by said, you don't want to stay here. This is not a good place for you. So the stranger, his name was Ralph Isaacs, takes him to 59 Church Street, which is about 1.4 miles from where we're standing. I do get activity from that location. However, it's residential. I can't take y'all over there. So, anyway, the two become friends. The doctor is doing really well with his practice. He finishes his studies and he starts his own doctoring medicine practice study. He's known as the Whistling Doctor because he's very happy. So, he's moving up in the hierarchy, and Ralph Isaacs was just a regular old Charlestonian. But yet the two still remained friends, and they used to go to plays, but they had to sit in different places because that's the way the hierarchy worked. So they used to talk about the plays that they used to go to on whenever they went home afterwards. One night, they're arguing about one of the actresses that was in town. The doctor loved her, Ralph did not. It turns into an insult party on the doctor's fiancée, Amanda, who was getting ready to move down here from New Jersey. The two get pissed off at each other, they go their separate ways. Ralph Isaacs writes something in the newspaper about what a disgrace the doctor is to the city of Charleston. The doctor rebuttals with, let's settle it in Dollars Alley. So the two come down here, they take their 20 paces, the doctor points his gun in the air, and he shoots. He didn't want to kill his friend. So, Ralph Isaacs had a different story. He took 2 shots below the knees on the doctor. The doctor drops. The interesting thing about this alley is right about where the first group is standing, there's a gate in the wall. I normally show it at the other side. But I call that the death gate, because the loser of the duels would normally go through the gate straight over to St. Philip Cemetery, where we just were. And then everybody would go have a drink and have a good time. That's how it went. But the doctor didn't die, so his friends pick him up, and they carry him the 1.4 miles to 59 Church Street, where he dies 10 days later. It is said, as you walk through here, you can hear the whistles, which, if you're listening to this in the car, this is the time to turn the audio up. You really need to listen for those whistles. Those are crickets behind me, so if you're picking up crickets, you know what those sound like. But it has also said you can hear gunshots. We're going to walk all the way to the end of this alley. This particular alley is very interesting, not only because nobody ever talks about the death gate, about the duels, but at the very end, the bricks are going to get older. At the very end, we have fingerprints and handprints from the slave children that had to sun-dry those bricks. We have a full handprint. I can point it out, but I have to keep moving. If somebody wants a picture, if you guys want to add a picture to it, by all means, take the picture, but we're going to move on and go left. So this is also, we're 1 block away from East Bay Street. Listen to your spirit boxes, keep them low. Your EMF's going to go off in the middle because we have the Footlight Players Club. That's the actor studio for Dock Street Theater.
Okay.
So with their equipment's in there, going to make you go off a little bit. I sometimes get words like medicine, PhD, things like that relating to doctorism. Oh, excuse us.
Thank you, everybody.
Someone dropped it.
So, are we empty now?
I think so.
Go ahead and grab a couple of pictures. This is, you just got the camera.
How do I do now?
Yeah, switching up on me, throwing me off.
How do you turn it back on?
It's just the on-off button. at the
Do I
very
need to
top.
turn it on?
Yep.
Yeah.
Are we sure we want you to have the camera?
Yeah, it's okay.
Again, very still. This makes beautiful photos daytime, nighttime, and this is what it sounds like even in the daytime, even though we're 1 block away from East Bay Street.
Wow.
Yeah, weird. It's always quiet down here. So, let's take a hike. The word's signal.
Oh, that's cool. Where's another hand?
Did you see the full handprint?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the full handprint of the brick.
Oh, you wanted to be sure you saw that.
The full handprint in the brick.
Kylie, you're walking worse. Your heels are hurting? Do you want to switch shoes with me?
Don't be silly. I'm not gonna listen to you from your heel side. Jenny?
Huh?
Don't switch shoes.
Alright, one last stop. One last place to take a look at. It's not the place behind me. Everybody gets excited. Oh, wow, an art gallery. We're going to learn some art stuff. No, we're going to learn about history. So the building behind you, catty corner, the big long brick building, we are actually 1 block away from East Bay Street, as you guys already know. But this building was part of our cotton industry. So the back of it was a cotton warehouse, and the front of it was the offices for that business. The last person who owned it, George Pereira, inherited it from his dad. He had no idea what he was doing. He was a silver spoon kid, got himself into a bunch of debt, and just was depressed that his dad was gone, and he didn't know how to run the business. The boll weevil was also in town, which is a bug that eats cotton. So he was really up the creek. So what's he do? He goes behind the American government, and he sells all the cotton to the British. So Pineapple Park is about 1.5 blocks from here, which again, that wharf would have been much closer. The British ship pulls up, they unload it with horses from the back. George is watching from the 2nd-story floor in the front. Somebody gets too close to the cotton with a pipe. The whole ship goes up in flames. George watches everything. He gets super depressed. His dad's legacy's gone. He can't pay off all his debt. He's now a joke of Charleston. So he piles up all the furniture, swings a noose over the rafters, and he hangs himself. It is said you can see the shadow of a swinging corpse on certain nights. And it was the newspaper kid the next morning that actually found it. So we get weird things with this particular building. This is a hit or miss type area. Now, 1 block past Philadelphia Alley, where we just came out of, is Poogan's Porch, one of the top 10 haunted locations in South Carolina. It's a restaurant. Very good food. Usually when I go there, I open up this app and I put it in the center of the table. Zoe, the previous owner, original owner of Poogan's Porch, will come through. Zoe's name is spelled without a Y. It will come through as ZOE on my spirit box. We will hear restaurant, food, dog. Poogan is a dog. We will hear those kind of things on your spirit box. So if you guys can turn that up when we're kind of walking alongside of it, we never know who we're going to get. So it's either one. Now, once we get to the front of the building, your EMF is irrelevant. We're going to be on a main street. All the crosswalk wiring is going to affect what you're seeing. Thermal imaging will be good. And then we're going to test a new theory I've been doing with your gadgets at the front of that building. So I've been testing something. It's worked some nights. It hasn't worked others. And I can't seem to make out what's actually happening. So let's get this. We're going to cross twice legally. And we're going to see what we can capture. You're listening for cotton, trade, George, like those kind of things on your spirit box. So let's see what we can do. That makes sense for somebody who hung himself, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
What was the word?
Decapitated?
Decapitated.
George, what happened? We're good. We actually want to go across the street and maybe try to capture something. Like, this is wedding reception area. They're turning it into all 3 floors plus a rooftop of wedding reception areas. It's waterfront. This is Charleston. They will make a ton of money. What do you want to know? It's building cost. Oh, it also used to be a brewery. Also used to be a brewery. Tap turn on both spots. Just because of George. So, you okay? Okay. Understood. Alright. So, we'll get to the showers. Yeah, well, that's also the venue. It's a pretty hot spot. The pictures I took for the blog when I did this place, I actually went to the rooftop so I can get the actual thing up there. You know, shining myself in the face. It's awesome.
So, where did he hang himself?
Second story.
Inside?
Inside. So, with the thermal imaging, we're not going to capture anything shadowy-wise, but we might see the color differences based on the temperature influencing the window. So that's why I say try to, like what we've been doing. Who's got the infrared thermometer? So go ahead and shoot the very, very top. All the way. What temperature do you have on that brick? 69. Okay, now go to the light brick above that, like where the, right there. So you got there. 84. So we have about 23 degree difference. It's been sometimes at 5 degree difference there, other times it's been at 30. So it's what's going on with this building. The guy who had it where we actually figured this out, we actually tested it down. I was actually careful because people live there, where that was in the 80s as well. So the very tip of that building should not have a 23-degree difference, even from a breeze coming in off the water. So there's, again, just never know what's going to happen with this. So did we capture a few pictures?
Yeah. I was gonna get more.
Yeah, let's get a few pictures from across the street and let's see if we can capture them. And I've never done this for the group either, so let's see if we can get with the thermal. These are my guinea pigs at Powder Magazine. Did you guys drive or take it?
We walk.
We walked. We
Oh,
were
that's
staying
right.
at the, well, we're staying at WTC. I mean, it was still like a mile. It wasn't bad.
So once we get back to like where I'm parked, I'll give you directions on the street.
Okay. Yeah, this one doesn't make sense. It's kind of round everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your dad's got a laser that he
Is it like this one?
Of the whole building, that would be awesome. I don't think I've ever seen this at night from across the street. I'm normally right in front of it.
right here.
So some good pictures over there too. Zoom in and maybe get versus the windows. How much that whole?
$3 million for that building.
Did you look it up?
No, that's what you said that they were
I have no idea what they're gonna like. This building here is probably closer to 10.
10. Then all the money has to put in.
Look at the look right there in the middle. They're gonna go at the top. Yeah.
But they're still working on the construction. Obviously, the bottom windows are still masked over. But yeah, it'll be 4 wedding reception areas, and they'll get their money for it too. It'll probably be about $50K to rent it out for the night.
A lot of money down here.
Yep. Just gotta know who to talk to. Well, guys, I'm actually going to call it. You guys actually did some extra things for me
Yeah,
that
this is
I
cool.
don't normally do.
Thank you.
I'm actually going to collect all the gadgets, and then I'll give you guys
That's it?
cards to take a look at my website before you guys actually get your evidence. The camera's like a weird part. I hate this thing bag my wife gave me. This is, believe it or not, one of her old purses. I'm like, I don't like it. It just doesn't work for me. With all the new gadgets, I didn't have enough room in my old bag. I like to do the phone first just to make sure we recorded the entire night. Yes. Good job, man.